What is going on, my peeps? Man, Versatile is back with another video, back here to talk about battery life. How to improve your battery life on the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip3. Yes, Samsung has given us a ton of different features and settings and ways for us to reduce the amount of battery consumption that the processor and or phone in general will use, so that way we can actually get a good battery life or better battery life out of our Z Flip3. And then of course, the opposite is true as well. You can take advantage of a lot of these settings to get the most out of your battery life, to get the most out of your phone at the expense of battery life. So if you guys don't know about the Galaxy Z Flip 3, it only charges up to 15 watts wired and then 10 watts of wireless charging. Those are some things that we wish or hope that Samsung will improve with the Z Flip 4 or future foldables, because for a $1,000 phone and for a phone with 3,300 milliamps, you would expect those type of advantages to be a part of that price. So we hope that going forward, whether or not the price fluctuates, we see those additions in terms of tech and battery tech in general for our devices. So that way, the shorter or the smaller the battery capacity, the faster we can actually charge it up, just in case we do want to make use of our phone fully to the max, right? So before we get into all the settings, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, so that way you never miss my videos. That way you can sit back and see what's cracking. And also let me down in the comment section below, what features or settings or apps are you using to actually make the most out of your battery life? And have you found these settings that we're about to go through useful for you to make sure you get the most out of your phone? Now let's get into the video. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to settings. Now settings, we're gonna go basically from top down, so you can see all the settings that you can do in order to make the most out of your smartphone, the Z Flip 3. Now we're going to connections. Once you go to mobile networks, once you click on mobile networks, you can actually turn off data roaming. Data roaming not only consumes more battery life because it's trying to find connection, you also save on additional charges that may or may not apply to your bill depending on your plan you have for your carrier service. So that's one way you can actually save battery life. And if you want to, in network mode, you can actually turn off 5G by just jumping down to LTE, 3G, 2G, or jump down to 3G, 2G, but that actually, I believe, eats a little bit more battery life. So LTE would actually be the sweet spot if you actually want to save battery life through that method. The next place is sounds and vibrations. If you come into sound and vibrations, you can actually turn down the amount of vibration that takes place within your phone, or basically the haptic feedback, so that way those haptic motors aren't consuming battery life. And as you see here, you have vibration intensity that you can actually turn down. It's your system sound vibration control. Right in here, you can turn a lot of different vibration or haptic moments down. So if you don't want it on while you're dialing the keypad or Samsung keyboard or charging, touch interactions, you have different ways you can actually turn off vibrations, so that way that's less battery that's consumed from your smart device. Now if we leave out of there and go into display, this is where you're going to make the most use out of a lot of battery saving techniques. Turn on dark mode. As you see, I currently have my dark mode on already, but mine's also on according to sunrise or sunset or a specific time range. So I think I have a customized schedule. But if you want dark mode on all the time, just toggle dark mode on and you'll instantly start saving battery life, because these are AMOLED displays. And so that means when it's black, those LEDs aren't emitting. So that's how you save battery life from that perspective as well. Brightness. Leave adaptive brightness on. Adaptive brightness adjusts the settings of light depending on the sensor and how it's interpreting light. So that allows you to get optimal brightness on your display without having a constant running, brightness level, which could seep your battery a lot faster. Let's say you like hanging around 50%. Well, as you guys see here on my phone, looking at me and interpreting the light around me, my display is at, just under 50%, somewhere around 35 to 40%. So although 50% may be nice and bright, you don't actually have to emit that much with adaptive battery. So that's a way that you can actually save battery life. Also, motion smoothness. Now, I'm never turning this off, but if you want to save battery life, jumping down to 60 Hertz will actually also grant you a ton of battery life versus having 120 Hertz. Now, I would imagine this has been tuned to run 120 hertz relatively well, and it's adaptive, which means it's not constant. It fluctuates depending on what you're looking at and what needs 120 hertz. So you are going to save battery life still with adaptive smoothness with 120 hertz on, but you will save that much more battery life with 60 hertz turned on. And that is all in this section here. Now, where's the next place we can go to? Well, we can go to lock screen. So you can change your lock settings right within here. One more feature in display, screen timeout. If you go to screen timeout, you see I have mine on 10 minutes, which means when I'm not messing with my screen and my phone's still on, it'll wait 10 minutes before it finally times out the display. Well, what you can do is jump that down to like 15 to 30 seconds. I see a lot of iPhone users pretty much stick to like that 30-second, because I don't think a lot of people touch this out the box. They don't even know about this setting. But you can actually adjust when your screen times out. So once you're done using it, you put it down, all you gotta do is switch it to 15 to 30 seconds. Now this feature may not be as useful on a flip phone because that inner display is going to be off once you close it anyway. So the minute you clasp this down, the screen's off inside. So it will be hard for this to really make use unless you plan on keeping your phone open for certain things, in which then you can actually have your screen time off according to a faster time or a slower time. The next feature you can do is come into lock screen and do the always on display. Yes, I have mine tapped to show, and this affects both the cover screen and the inner display. By tapping to show, it's not on until you tap the screen and then it'll show. Now, if you double tap the cover screen, it'll actually turn on your wallpaper or your customized cover screen clock, and then it'll activate. But if you just tap it, it'll just show you the time and all that and then be done. So by adjusting this, leave it at tap to show. That way you just tap it, or you can turn it off completely if you don't want to make use of it at all. You just want to double tap your screen and keep it pushing, your cover screen that is, and keep it pushing. Now you can do show as scheduled as well, which means it'll only show as specific moments and in specific time frames. And that's a way you could potentially save battery if you really want to make use of the always on display. But that is another way you can actually adjust your battery life, and also use auto brightness for it, so that way it also interprets light and lets you see information that you need to see with the right lighting settings. The next place you can save battery life is, location, essentially. So if you go into location, you can have it on all the time, so that way it improves accuracy, or the way you use it with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. You can adjust those, so that way you can make use of how often your GPS is working. That's a way to save battery life. And another way you can save battery life is by coming into advanced features and going into motions and gestures. Yes, if you go into motions and gestures, there's a bunch of gestures and motions at your dispense, but only use the ones that you have to. So like, as you see for me, I don't have lift awake on, because when I lift my phone up, it immediately let me know on the cover screen. Well, for me, I want to take advantage of being able to tap the display and kind of play around with my phone, and I don't need that consuming battery life, that motion / gesture. So I have that turned off. But double tap works because you can double tap either screen and it'll cut things on for you. So that's why I have those still on, and I have keep screen on while viewing, so that way my timeout timer doesn't kick in. Now if you want, you can turn it off and it'll time off while you're reading stuff, and then you just make sure to tap the screen so that way it'll come back to you. But that is one way, or another way you can save battery life. And of course there's other alerts and all that type of stuff, but if you don't need those, keep those off. You save battery life that way as well. You can also basically not use as many Bixby routines, or use a Bixby routine to cut off certain features, I believe. So look into that. You can also turn off video call effects. So when you have video calls, you don't have video call effects running, which will also consume less power. So if you want, cut video call effects off and you'll be fine there. And then with video brightness, leave it at normal. Bright distorts the image anyway, so you'll save battery when you're looking at videos by just leaving that on normal. just leave it on normal. Another feature you could take advantage of is going actually into battery and device care. And when you click on battery, as you see, it's still learning my usage patterns right now. All you have to do is come down here and you can click on power saving mode. And by clicking on that, here it gives you a ton of stuff that it will take advantage of, such as dropping down to 60 hertz, turning off your always on display, and limiting your CPU speed, and decreasing brightness by 10% right off the bat. And then it can limit apps and home screen. So as it says, for maximum power saving, allow only selected apps, limit all background activity, turn off edge panels, and change to a dark theme. So by doing all of that, you can also save battery. Now, you don't have to have this on all the time. Just have it on in a pinch when you know you're gonna be away for a while and you may need your phone to last a lot longer than you think you do. So by turning on power saving mode, you'll actually save battery just like that in the moment that you need it, or the time frame that you need it for that period. And by the way, as you see, it says edge panels. You can turn edge panels off too, so it's not waiting for your gestures for when you want to swipe over and activate your edge panel. Well, how do you get there? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Well, if you go to display and then you scroll down here to edge panels, this is where you can have apps selected, such as your app, smart select, your compass, your weather. You can have all that within your edge panel, your handle. Well, if you turn it off, you'll also save battery life that much more as well. Now, going back into battery and device care, while you're in the battery settings, you can also limit how many apps you want. So you can put unused apps to sleep. That will help you save battery because it won't allow power to certain apps if they're not in use or if they're barely used. So you can have that. You can also select certain apps to never sleep, and then you can put apps in deep sleep where it won't get no power. So that's another way you can save battery. Now, I would suggest if there's apps you're gonna put in deep sleep, I would say just uninstall the app, because that means you're just not using it, and then it's like a wasted space. So just get rid of the app, and that you won't have any problems there. Another way, go to more battery settings at the bottom. Keep adaptive battery on if you want to limit battery use for apps that you don't use often. Kind of redundant, as I just said, but that's a way you can save battery. And keep enhanced processing off. I have it on because I want to make the most use out of my phone. But if you want to save battery life that much more, keep enhanced processing off. And then you have an effect over your fast charging and your fast wireless charging. So those are some things you can do. You can protect your battery by only limiting the maximum charge to 85% if you're looking at longevity. If you plan on keeping the phone for a while, you can always turn that on as well, and that's for battery health overall. But that is one way that you can also save battery life. Now, a feature that most people don't think about is an app that you would have to download, but it's called Good Guardians. So if we go into Good Guardians, which it used to be called like Guardian Labs or something like that, as you see here, there's a lot of different little trackers and little mini apps. Well, Battery Tracker allows you to track your battery usage, and then Battery Guardian allows you to extend your battery life by affecting your apps. The main app we're going to look at is Thermal Guardian. Now, I already have it installed, of course, but upon clicking that, you can actually adjust your thermal threshold. Okay, thank you. So by adjusting your thermal threshold, you see I have mine increased all the way to the right. I wish I could increase it that much more because I want my phone to run. But you can actually crank this down below. Now, it only increases it up to 2 degrees Celsius, but that can be like 10 degrees, right? So I have mine increased to 2 or 15 degrees, somewhere in there, but I have mine increased. I want my phone to run a little bit hotter, which will also help with enhanced processing. Well, what you can do is actually take your thermal threshold and hit it all the way down to the negative, where it stays 2 degrees Celsius cooler. And that will also limit the amount of battery you're going to end up using, because it will understand that it doesn't want to push hot like that, and it'll be fine. Now, as you see on my battery my battery graph here for my processor, it really doesn't get that hot anyway, or it hasn't been recently, which is good. So I'm glad for that matter. But that is another way you can save battery life. And then, of course, Memory Garden is a way for you to cut apps out the memory to free up RAM and to, again, save battery life because you don't have a lot of background activity taking place. And these are ways that you can save battery life on your Z Flip 3. Let me know down in the comment section below if you've taken advantage of any of these apps or features or settings to make the most out of your phone, because that's what it's about nowadays, making the most out of these phones, especially as they get a little bit more expensive. Seems like $1,000 is trying to be commonplace, but hopefully we can calm back down to the $800 and $900 range for a phone, because frankly that's where it needs to be. And I won't be surprised if this drops one more time to like $900, $950 as a starting price. I would love that. But for the price. We want to make sure we get the most out of our phone, and that's taking care of our battery. So again, as always, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that way you never miss my videos. Then we can sit back and see what's cracking. But your man Versatile signing out until the next video. Wait, boy.